Okay, we have our AquaTank 2 water bladder. This is a 60-gallon water bladder, and we're here at a state park, and we've been here for about a week, and we're out of water. So we filled up when we first got here, and so it's Saturday. I'm going to go ahead and fill up this morning. It's going to get 60 gallons back in the tank. So uh, the AquaTank is available. It's about $160 as of the recording of this video on Amazon. We have seen it on sale. I think it's worth it. Here's the main reason I like it is because look how easily that folds down. I literally just have it in a bin, stuffed away in the RV. I don't have to take up room in my truck. As you can see, I don't have much room in my truck for like water tanks and those kinds of things. So we decided to go this route. So the way that it works is that we're literally just we're gonna take up 60 gallons worth of space here at the end of the truck. It's going to get very heavy, obviously. So the way that it works is we're going to put the water in, and then I actually have an external water pump that's going to pump the water into the RV. So you don't want to lift this thing when it has water in it. You probably wouldn't be able to. I know I certainly couldn't. So yeah, so this is just how it works. Now, you may think this looks a little strange having these on here. I'm going to tell you why I did that. The only thing I don't really love about this product is it kind of came with these cheap little plastic adapters, and this one's already broken. I can't remember how long I've had this, but like it's basically it's not blocking the water, so this is pretty much useless. So I got to looking at what I had on the RV, and of course I had a couple of these things, and I'm using it. Obviously, I'm not using it for the splitter. I'm using it for the valve, so it can stop the water, and I know this thing works. So yeah, because you want to be able to stop the water from flowing on both sides. I'm going to show you what I mean here. So the way we're going to lay this out, you'll notice, probably should have brought my ladder. It's always good to bring a ladder when you have a big dually. So you'll notice that so it has an input and an output, basically. And it seems a little awkward at first because the output is on the bottom, but don't worry about that. It'll take care of itself. So we're gonna hook the hose up on the input here, and then so what they give you normally is this. So you would plug it with it, like you'd fill it all the way up, but then you take your hose off, and then all the water's spilling out, and you're supposed to like screw this thing down. And I'm just like, well, that's a waste of water, and it's kind of a pain. So I like the idea of having a valve there. So we're just going to hook this hose up like we would normally. I literally bought this not just because it was cheap, but because it was not one of those, I can't remember those brand of hoses that we have that are all I think they create more water pressure than they needed.
The bendy ones.
Yeah, like I can't remember what those are called, but I like these just because they're rigid, and I know the water is going to flow fast. Okay, so one of the things I like to have, it's not a total necessity, but I prefer it, is to bring a flow meter. And I hook it up here so it's easy for me to see it. And then all it's just going to do is to measure the number of gallons. This is a 60-gallon water bladder. So we're going to crank this sucker on. Water pressure on this spigot is awesome. So as you can see, nothing's flowing right now. I'm just going to open that up. Boom, there it goes. We have water. Okay, so I think we're around 60 gallons. So we turned it off at the spigot, but be sure to turn off your valve. Okay, just remember when you're dealing with these valves that the valve is open and allowing the flow of water if it's straight up like that, right? But if it's closed when it's essentially blocking the water from flowing. Okay, here we are back at the RV, and so let's go over the stuff that you're going to need. So for one, when you're putting the water from the bladder into your RV tank, you're basically just acting as if this is your hose and you're hooking it up to a regular RV spigot, right? So this is your spigot. So you don't do anything different here. So now we have this set up we've got a situation going on where I'm going to redo the hoses on our filtration system. Normally our filtration system would be up into the bay, in the bay of the RV. We've got it pulled out. Don't let that distract you. So we filter our water and soften the water before it goes into the freshwater tank. So, but the situation here is, so now we need to be able to uh, use a water pump to get the water out of here into here. You'll notice if this water pump looks familiar, it's because this is an RV water pump. I looked up different ones on Amazon. I found this one. It seemed it had good reviews and it was pretty powerful. So the good thing about this is now I have a spare water pump. So if we ever have a situation where our water pump in our RV goes bad, I've got this as a backup. So the downside with it, it's kind of a little janky to hook it up, because I have to actually hook it up to a regular. This is a lithium battery. Now this is a trolling motor carrier for a battery. I love this thing. It's very convenient because I also use this to fill up the air on our tires and other things where you just need batteries with an RV. So this works out very conveniently. The downside with this thing, it does not have an off and on switch. So as soon as you hook this thing up to the battery and make the connection, boop, it just starts. So so we want to make sure that all of our hoses and everything are hooked up and ready to go before we connect this to the battery. Okay, before we get started with this, it's going to be important to turn your power fill on your tank. So right now we have this set at the dry camping settings. No, I'm sorry, we didn't. We had it at the dry camping settings, which would be this, right? Because we're dry camping. But what we want to do is we want to change it to the power fill settings. You want to make sure you do this first before you start doing the hose and turn on the pressure, because if you don't, you're going to create a bunch of pressure here and it's probably going to blow off. You don't want that. Ask me how I know. So I also turn on the water pump. Now we're prepared at the RV to receive the water in. What we're going to do is we're going to take, now this is, you'll notice that this particular adapter, this is the regular, water hose size that you're going to have at the regular water spigot. This size is the RV size, right? Because this is going to go into an RV size water pump. So I have an adapter on here. So when you're first setting all this stuff up, just remember you're going to need to do this kind of stuff beforehand. Because I've found that getting these little fittings, the stuff that's made for RV size, is not readily available at like Lowe's and all that. You're going to probably have to order this on Amazon. Okay, and then now we're going to hook this up to our regular spigot. And lastly, I'm going to take this. This is hooked up to the RV. Now that we have our water connections all filled up, before we turn on the electrical to a water pump and start pumping water, we're going to want to turn the water on. So right now, this is going to allow the water to flow. You can see it's already starting. Got a little leak there. And I'm just going to get my connections going on my battery. Now I'm going to make sure I don't have any kinks in my hose.
Could you use a shorter hose if you had it?
If you had a shorter hose, yeah, absolutely. I didn't do that because I don't want to disturb my fittings, because my fittings have all the plumber's tape and all that stuff on them, so I didn't want to unhook anything. But you could certainly do that if you want. Again, I do prefer the more rigid hoses for doing this kind of stuff, just because I think it lets the water flow a lot faster. I think that's pretty good. So all I have to do is just unhook it from the battery, and we're done.
If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to our channel. We release new full-length videos every Thursday, as well as shorter how-to, informational, and RV product review videos throughout the week. You might also want to check out these videos that also dig into off-grid living, limited hookups, and boondocking. See you next time, and don't forget to get out there and RV, explore, and live like there's no tomorrow.